Also, when you think of transfer, oh, sorry, recording in progress. So when you think of transferable skills as part of your career toolkit, so no matter what you've learned in school or at your previous jobs, transferable skills are ones that can really help you gain from what you gain from each career or even personal experience through volunteering or being part of organizations. So let's hear from our wonderful panel about their transferable skills and how they've navigated their career changes. So first question that I have for you all. So I talked a little bit about transferable skills. So what are some transferable skills that have helped you navigate your career? Luke, I will start with you.
Yeah, thanks for that. So am I am a people person. I am an extrovert. I love people. Being in leadership, I always tell people my leadership style is being a servant leader because I'm serving the team. I work for my team. They don't work for me. So when it comes to my transferable skills, it's just, communication, being able to just communicate with different audiences, different personalities, different whether you're an introvert, an extrovert. Also, like that's verbal, but it also applies to written communication skills. So I'm in an industry where I have to do a lot of writing, but also being in sales. So having that grit, having that resiliency. And when I think about people of color, that's one thing that we understand the struggle, right? So just being able to have that drive, be able to overcome hard challenges. And then I talked about communication already. So those are some of the things that has helped me when I think through just like my career.
Thank you, Luke. Those were some great examples. What about you, Boomy?
Yeah, obviously communication is always going to be one. So since Luca already talked about that, I'm not gonna talk about that one. But for me personally, I think problem solving, being able to understand the problem, understand the risk, understand your choices that you have. Like no matter what career you're in, there's always a problem. Like a lot of time we go to work to solve a problem, right? Maybe the problem is making more money, all right, for your company, right? So just kind of understanding that, that really is something that I've used a lot in my career. Also, one thing that I think it's great for everybody to have is time management. A lot of time people feel like they're always busy, like they can't do something, they always run out of time. But I think if you're able to manage time, because a lot of time we might be on projects, especially in tech, a lot of time we work in projects. If you work more in like development area, you might work in sprints and stuff like that. So being able to manage your time is very important. So that's something that you can take into any job or any career. I use my calendar even for personal life. Like I live and die by my calendar. So if it's not on my calendar, I probably don't do it. So that's one way I like to manage my time. And the last thing I would say is the collaboration skills. Being able to work with other people. Because everybody comes from like a diverse background. Everybody have different experiences. You're not always going to be the smartest on the team. You're not always going to be the not smartest person on the team. So being able to work with people from like different experience in life, different culture, it's something very important. And in college, we always have group projects and we hate our group because you end up being the only one doing the work. In real life, right? You have that too. So being able to navigate that, it's something that I've used a lot in my career, and I think definitely helped me along the way.
Thanks, Boomy. Those were, I love it. Collaboration, communication, um, time management, like you shared. Those are some really good transferable skills that go into any industry. So I appreciate you all sharing those. And one of the things, the lens I'm going to bring is from an employer and a recruiting lens. So employers often look at workers with transferable skills that have extensive skill set to tap in when needed. So for example, someone may have analytical skills that can likely examine a problem from all sides and help break down the options that exist for solving it. Another one could be just thinking about those skills that really exist that are transferable that you can apply to new challenges and demonstrate to your employer. So say you're thinking about, well, I desire to get into tech, and maybe you're in a program or you just completed a program. Think about how you can utilize some of those skills in your current role to set you up for your next opportunity. I always say you want to think forward thinking of how this opportunity that you just completed, whether that was a certification, a training, how you can tie that to the work you're doing now, even though it may not be your true destination. So then when you're going to an interview, you can speak to those examples, although they may not be directly doing the actual specialty that you got your certification in. You can say you still demonstrated those skill sets in the process of doing another job. So I want to share there are many also job descriptions that list series of skills that a company wants from their applicants. And so you may not necessarily have all the requested skills. So this happens often. I have clients that will say that, you know, they don't apply for a job unless they have 99% of what they're looking for. And studies show that often women and people of color will not apply for a job unless they have 100% of the job description, but our white male counterparts will only need 60% and say, I got it, I'll get the job. So I want to encourage you to know that you don't have to have 100% what's on the job description, because a little secret is that sometimes they haven't updated that job description in 10 years. So maybe the skills that they needed prior is not truly reflected on that job description. We are working to encourage employers to be more aware of the job description, looking to see if they have the needs that they're looking for the role. But I want to encourage you to still apply, because you never know if your skills are transferable, or also if the job description is really what they're looking for. So shoot your shot, don't give up, and know that sometimes job descriptions can be intimidating, but you do need to still apply, because you may be the right fit for that opportunity. And so you definitely want to take the opportunity to look at that. So let's move forward and think about the hiring team's perspective. Boomy and Luca, I know you both have been part of the hiring process for organizations that you work for and previous organizations. So when you have been part of the process, what have you looked for? What type of skills have you looked for that could be not necessarily deemed as tech skills, or skills in general? Boomy, why don't you take that one first?
Yeah, so again, I think everything goes back to that transferable skills. Because the way I look at it, a lot of time we can teach you the job. Like you can learn that a lot of stuff, the day-to-day of the work, you can learn it at work, right? Because you go to, in college, we get our degrees, but a lot of time everything we learn in college, we don't even use it in our day job, because you have to learn it their way, right? So when I was a manager of my previous company, during the interview process, and I talked to everybody in the panel that, the panel, so like not focus too much on the technical skills, but let's highlight what are we missing in our team, right? Or like what makes our team a team, right? So collaboration, right? So we ask question about how do you work with other people? Some people come with a mindset that, oh, I'm a lone wolf. I get things done by myself. That's fine, but you have to find a way to bring that in and say, oh, I'm a leader, right? I can lead the team. I can, like, don't be that person that, oh, I can do everything by myself. Like you cannot do everything by yourself. So having that collaboration skills is very important. And when we're talking about communication, like communication is always gonna be number one. Because like you can make the best product, but if you cannot communicate it to somebody that's not technical, to somebody that's technical, like you're just a waste of time. So being able to communicate and adapt to different people's way of receiving the communication is very important. And part of communication is also listening as well. So like, you might be on a team, you don't want to be the person dominating the conversation. So we ask those questions, and we ask people for example, like, oh, give us an example when this, a lot of time that scenario never happened, but in a job interview, just make something up where you can apply your skill to that particular scenario without just don't say no. Oh no, it never happened to me, right? Because you don't want to say that in a job interview. So I know that was a lot, but just wanted to highlight like the transferable skills, the soft skills is most of the stuff we look for a lot, because the actual technical skills, we can teach you that at the job, right? So, but yeah, that's what I would say in my experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Boomy. And Lucas, so you being in leadership as well and hiring, often in the hiring process, what are some industries that you've been seeing that have been successful in tech that have transferred over well?
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to your point of reevaluating the job description. So something that we try to do every year, and we did a couple years ago, was we took off like needing a bachelor's degree to be able to be a part of my team. So I lead a pre-sales and marketing team. So a lot of that requires the soft skills. So like Boomy said, like we could teach you the product, right? But do you have that ability to self-study? Because I can't teach self-study. I can't teach drive. You either have drive or you don't. I can't teach grit. I can't teach resiliency, right? So like with sales, active listening is something that, you know, some people are just really good listeners. Some people are really good at asking open-ended questions. So just being naturally curious. We really look for that. And so we get applicants from all over the place, like, you know, like different industries, people who have worked in like call center space, people who worked in customer service. You know, our technology is a customer service software, right? And so we are making calls. We are very quota and goal driven. Some of the questions we ask is, you know, tell me the last time you were able to accomplish a goal, right? Another question we ask is, tell me the last time you had to overcome something really challenging and what did you learn from that, right? Because in sales, you hear no a lot and you can't take it personally. You have to be able to just bounce back and just keep it moving, right? Time management is huge, right? Tell me a time where you have to, how do you structure your day, like your personal day, right? So we're seeing like, how do you prioritize? Yes, teamwork is something else. Like, tell me about a time where you had to work with a team or overcome like a really hard challenge. So really thinking through, and a lot of this is things that you can take from your personal life and apply it to your professional life too. So like Boomy said, I always tell people like, we can teach you the product, right? But if you don't have that ability to self-study, to manage your time, to really ask the right questions, to be have that drive. Another thing too is like what motivates you, like really knowing that what motivates you. And some people say money, but it's really not money. It's most of the time it's the thing that like money is the tool needed to buy the whatever, whether it's like experience, it's a trip, or it's like I want to take care of my family. So that's the tool needed. So really understanding like, you know, what is motivating them, what drives them, because that's really going to carry over in the workplace.
Thank you. Those were really good examples. And one thing I'll share too and we'll talk about this a little later too, is thinking about if your job, maybe you're not able to use a skill that you really want to work on, what are some other ways that you can actually do that? And we'll talk about that a little later. So often, as we know, people see where you currently are and they forget that there was a journey. You didn't just hop into a senior leadership role. You didn't just hop into working for some of the best tech companies. There was a journey for you. So you know, you probably have had to pivot, and you've probably had to do things differently and adjust. Can you share a time when you've had to pivot in your career? Well, Cal, we'll start with you first.
Yeah, so Kristen knows my story. So I started out, I did an internship program my senior in college, and then I worked at Enterprise Rent a Car. They had like a management and trainee program, and we were up in there on like Saturdays in suits, washing cars. So I always tell people, I know the struggle. I came from humble beginnings. I learned a lot in that internship program and like leading my first brand. So a lot of like sales skills, communicating, problem solving, like the back end managing a business skill too. But I wanted to go and pursue an MBA, and Enterprise had us working crazy hours, and so I pivoted and worked for a General Electric company in an inside sales role, and my product line was light bulbs. So this is something I always tell people too, that if you're going to pursue a career in marketing or sales, make sure it's something that you're actually passionate about, because GE light bulbs was just not given. And so I pivoted to a different industry, but you notice I'm taking the skills that I learned when I was in enterprise, the skills that I learned when I was in inside sales at General Electric. And so I wanted to work for a space that was innovative, that's always changing, that's secure and not going away. And that's how I found myself in tech. So I was really intentional about getting into tech. We're talking more about like your network. But I networked myself into a tech role, worked at Angie's List. There I did more like outbound calls, and it was super hard. But at the time, Interactive Intelligence was Angie's biggest customer. And so I networked my way into Interactive, now Genesis. But you notice like the skills that Angie's List gave me the opportunity to learn about the Genesis software, right? And so use every opportunity to at least learn, because you're only acquiring skills that's probably preparing you for the next level. And I will say that, like, you hear like your career is a jungle gym and not a ladder, right? Because like a ladder only goes up and it can limit you, whereas a jungle gym, you can go sideways, up, down, you can get off, get up. So now, like within my current role, I started as a sales development rep and then went to manage teams. But then I pivoted to a training and enablement role, because I found as a manager, one of the things that I loved doing was teaching, training, coaching, working with our new hires. And so at the time, that position wasn't created. And so I stepped into a new role globally doing training for all of our sales development reps. And then 18 months ago, I pivoted into this role now, like leading all of North America. And so the prior role gave me global experience, right? And so now I'm only within North America. So just like being able to navigate through, and we'll talk about that too, but just acquiring skills, because you're probably getting prepared for the next role that you may not even know what that next role looks like.
Thank you, Luki. I really like how you talked a little bit about like the jungle gym, and sometimes people feel like they have to go up all the time, and sometimes you go lateral to go up even higher. And so I think your story and journey and sharing that, and even looking at trying to get into industries, and you forgot to share like the first time you applied, right? It was
Yeah.
a no, right? And then you went to work for Angie's List, which got you that exposure. So then you got your yes. So
Yeah.
always remember that your no is not a no, it's just a delay. And so know that and always remember that.
I
Now
will.
move.
I'll add to you real quick. So, and play. It's okay to play the long game, because I was really strategic. Like Kristen said, like the first time I applied for Genesis, like they told me no. I went to work for Angie's List to learn their product, and then like I applied again. So I tell people, if there's a company that you really want to work for, like just continue to network, continue acquiring those skills, and sometimes it's just a matter of time.
Thank you. Now, Boomy, can you talk about a time where you've had to pivot in your career or examples?
Yeah, so obviously initially I right in college, right? Like I've always been that tech guy, always fixing computers and all that. So that was kind of like my experience, right? My first job right out of college was being a tech support for a company like on the north side, right? So it was good experience. But while I was in college, there was a company called Exact Target that came to talk to us when I was in school. Now they call Salesforce now. So I'm like, man, I need to work for this company. Like I don't care how the hell I'm gonna get in there. I need to get in this company. So but like like Lucas said, something I got to take the long game. So I took the first job that I got offered as a tech support guy. But while I was there, they used Salesforce, the product. So I started learning it. I started learning it, knew how to use it. I was the guy. So and then there was a job opportunity at Salesforce now because Salesforce bought Exact Target. And I'm like, whoa, this is my time. I had that experience that I learned while at the current job where I was a tech support guy, and now I was able to get in as an entry level. So I'm like, hey, I don't care what the job was. I just want to work with this company. I can be a janitor. I do not care. I just want to get in. Like, I actually left money on the table at the last company I was at to join the company because I'm like, this is where I want to work at. I mean, I worked there for 8 years, and while I was there, I was able to like switch roles. Like, I mean, I had 7 different titles while I was there. So because I know once I get in, I can work my way up, right? So that was the big change, like like pivoting my career because I don't want to do a tech support anymore because I'm like anybody can fix the old damn computer. Like I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like I can anybody can do that. So, but I want something a little bit more where I can learn more, more on the software side. So, that's where I made that career change.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Boomy. Again, you hear that synergy between the two of them of both, being strategic, right? So that's a skill set that you guys didn't mention, but that's something that is transferable across the board. And they both demonstrated that early on in their career. Often when you hear that, I like to say it's a buzzword, strategy and strategic. A lot of organizations say that's what they're looking for or use that to a part of the performance evaluation. But they demonstrated that early in their career. And that could have been an example that they could use going forward that maybe they didn't think about. So you've all talked a little bit about pivoting. Now let's talk a little bit about what you've done to get promoted or developed or grow in your career. What are some things you've done? So Luki or Boomy, whoever wants to take it first.
Let me, you want to go first?
Sure. So in my, obviously everybody loves promotion, right? Personally, I don't like promotion, and I'll explain why. Because I'm like, when you get promoted, you're probably doing the same job. It's just your title might change, and they give a little percentage, and that's it. But me, I'm like, okay, if you work for a bigger company, look at other departments and see what else you can learn, right? So I'll give an example. When I was at Salesforce, the reason why I was able to have different titles because I switched teams, right? And every time I switch team, like my pay jumped like 20% sometimes. But if you get promoted, it's only 4%. So I'm like, do I want to get a promotion? Because I'm great in what I do. Or if I switch teams, I could get a lot more money. So that was my strategy. There's nothing wrong with promotion. But what I did was like I keep learning new skills every year. So we have like Salesforce certification, where you learn it, you get certified, all of that. So it's free for employees. So like while I was there, I had 9 certifications, right? Where some people would only have one their whole career. So I'm like, hey, it's free. Let me just keep stacking this up because it's gonna help me move around and all of that. So just learning new skills, anything that's offered, your job offer any like professional development, I always sign up for that. I go to every happy hour. I go to any voluntary event. Just meeting people, like, oh, talking to directors, VPs, like, hey, I like your team. I want to learn more about it. I have coffee chat like almost every other week. We're learning more about their team because the moment there's a job that open, they're gonna remember talking to you like in a couple weeks ago about it. And then by the time like my first shift, I actually got the job through basketball because we play basketball like every Wednesday morning. So one of the director I play basketball with, it was like, hey, there's a role that might open up, which I think you might be a perfect fit for. I'll let you know once it's open. And then I was the first one to apply for it. And I was the first one they spoke to. So after they talk to me, they don't need to talk to anybody else because I already created that relationship, right? So that would be my advice. Like, promotion is great, but see how you can connect with other teams, even other companies, right? Don't get too comfortable with your current company. Like, network, see what's out there, right? Because your company might, for the same role, they might be paying you a lot less than the other company. Now you can just jump ship, right? Just switch over there and go get the bread, right? So that's my advice is just like learn new skills. I've always been learning every day. See gaps in your skills. Always update your resume, even though you're not looking for a job. Like my resume is not the same every 3 6 months. I'm adding something new to it. So that's what I did. Throughout my career, just like trying to see how I could be the best of myself.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's a great example because often people think about promotions only, right? And don't think about the other areas. Now, what about you, Lucale?
So I would say there's, and kind of piggyback off of what Umi said, there's so much free, like educational tools out there today, whether it's a free webinar, it's a free coffee chat, it's a free that you can just sign up for. And then you take that knowledge that you learn inside your organization, right? Another thing too that I've done is take on a stretch assignment. Right. There's some things that outside of your role, like the people that say, that's not my job or I'm only going to do my job, like those are probably the people that aren't going to get movement or like promotions, right? So take on a stretch assignment and then advocate for yourself too. So I know that I used to be the one that I would say, like, I'm going to let my work speak for itself. And people of color do this a lot. And so now I'm like, I'm telling people almost like it is kind of bragging on yourself, but it's telling people, what you did, what you are doing, and also the impact that you are making or bringing to the organization or the team or the numbers. And then have a personal board of directors, right? And make sure that it's not just within your organization and make sure it's not your boss, right? And even though your boss should be someone who advocates for you, but make sure it's someone that understands your goals, holds you accountable, and a diverse board of directors. So I know that my board of director consists of like my mentors. It consists of sponsors, not just within Genesis, but externally too. When I was negotiating my pay for this role, I seeked out one of my sponsors that worked externally, right? So just make sure that you have people that are, and people from different industries too, right? So people on my board of directors, they don't all just fall in tech, but across like different industries.
Those were really good advice. And this kind of ties into our next conversation. I do want to acknowledge Nicole's comment. She said, interesting about updating your resume every 3 to 6 months. So one of the things I recommend to my clients is that you update your resume and your LinkedIn once a quarter, because you have quarterly goals. You achieve things quarterly. And so that allows you to have the most recent and fresh information. So definitely agree with Bumi's recommendation for that. So you all kind of led to this, and we're kind of talk a little bit more about this, but Mentors of Color and Be Nimble are excellent organizations to engage and join because they all are ways to grow your network. You've heard Boomy and Lucal both say something about their network in some capacity today. And so as we know, our network is our net worth. So I always say it's so important to engage. Like for instance, you're on this call right now. You see some people's first and last name. Connect with them on LinkedIn. You never know who's in the room today. Connect with the three of us on LinkedIn, because again, you never know who knows somebody who's maybe looking for an opportunity or may personally be looking for an opportunity to help you expand, whether that you're wanting to join a board or if you're wanting to grow within your career. So, Boomy and Lucal, how has networking helped you in your career, and how do you network? And I know you kind of touched a little bit about on this too, Boomy, earlier about grabbing coffee with people and going to happy hours. So those some examples. But how has it helped you, kind of, if you have an example in your career, personally or professionally?
Yeah, I mean, network, as you know, like I have an organization where we do mostly networking event, because I know I know the benefit of it in your career. Because a lot of time in our career we get so comfortable with our coworkers. We keep hanging out with our coworkers after work. Like it's okay to grab your drink with your coworker. Like don't do that every day. Like go make new friends, right? Because you get stuck in that position. And those are the people you're competing with to get promoted. So I think, networking allowed me to know other people from other industry, right? Be able to see what is out there. And you can network. You don't have to go to a networking event to network. Like you mentioned, you could use LinkedIn. Like you're like even your church, like anything you do could be a networking at the gym. Like I met like one of my best friends. I met him at the gym, right? So that's networking because hey, what's up, bro? Where you from? Oh, I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Nigeria too. Boom, we're brothers. So like just being able to communicate with people. You never know, at a bar, anywhere I'm at, like I'm always like, hey, how are you? Just introduce myself. Or maybe I see them wearing a company that I'm interested in. They have a shirt on or a backpack, whatever it is. Just approach them. Don't be creepy, but just say, hey, just say hello. Most people will say hello to you back, especially if you approach them in a professional manner, right? So I think network is very important. And also internal network as well. Like, if you work for a company that's very big, like I said, my example, just see what the HR department are doing. Well, maybe not the HR. I don't manage HR. Maybe like see what the marketing team are doing, what the sales team are doing, what are the service team are doing, right? Like just talk to somebody there, right? See, because you never know when they might have a job open. Because a lot of company they hire within before they make it external hire. So once they already know you are and you're connected with them, like once the job is posted, you're gonna be the first one they reach out to. So that'd be my advice. Just like always be networking. Is that ABN? I don't know. Yeah.
Always be closing.
Exactly. I try to play that way, but it didn't really work out. But you get the point. So yeah, that's my feedback on it.
Thank you, Boomy. That's very true about the internal networking. I always say that networking is not just external, but internal. And like Lucal shared earlier, talking about your board of directors and having a diverse group of that internally and externally part of that. Now, what about you, Lucal?
I have actually gotten all my jobs through networking. And I want to talk about the importance of nurturing your network, right? Because you know that you've had those people that they just reach out to you when they want something. So I try to make sure that I'm nurturing my network. I'm active on LinkedIn. If it's somebody's birthday, I'm like, oh, happy birthday. We should grab coffee. Let's do a virtual chat. So doing that, being very intentional about your networking. And then also, I know, or like internally, like I started an inclusion group, right? And so that helped with my internal network of just having to work with, or getting the opportunity to work with different people within the business in different departments too. So And you'll be surprised, there's not a lot of people who want to chair some of these groups, because it's a balance of also you have your day job too, that you've got to make sure that you're producing there too. But then I always call it like my passion project of starting Genesis Women of Color. So that's another way to easily be able to network internally. But from an external standpoint, like LinkedIn is everything. I'm on LinkedIn more, it's like my number one social media, more than any other social media. But I'm always just seeing like if somebody got a new job, congratulations. Like I'm that type of LinkedIn networker person. But then it always just comes back around.
That's so true. And I think you hit the nail on the head about nurturing those relationships in your network. So sometimes people, especially even mentorships, right? When you get a mentor, don't just check in when you need someone, but a good way to do that is also, like Lucal said, acknowledging a recent accomplishment. And also during that time, let them know what you're working on. Let them know what's going on in your world so that they can have that as a top of mind. And that is really helpful for helping you. And I'll tell you that LinkedIn is a great tool, again, for building your network and connecting with people that you probably would never get to connect with. There's a woman that I call my Beyonce of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I saw her at a conference. I knew she was going to be there. And I sent her a message and said, hey, can we grab coffee for 15 minutes? So people are more willing to commit to 15 minutes than anything, because that's just a quick time span. It's not a large commitment, and really maximizing that time. And so I did that. And then I ended up sending her a message on LinkedIn and said, hey, would love to chat with you and learn a little bit more about how you've been a speaker. And so her and I connected, and she actually got me some speaking engagements, and we continued to engage and congratulate each other and help each other in that way. So I probably would have never been able to do that if LinkedIn didn't exist, because the conference has over 5,000 people attending. And so I just expressed to you all that if there's someone that you've really been wanting to connect with, send them a message on LinkedIn and ask for a 15-minute coffee chat via Teams or Zoom. And I'm sure they'll be willing to do that. So I want to encourage you to do that as well to continue to grow your network. So there are several attendees here that maybe aren't working for a tech company right now. How would you recommend they tap into tech and really kind of be able to do that? Lucal, I'll let you take this one, and then Boomy, you can tap in as well.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that there's a lot of free like webinars that tech puts out that you can join. There's a lot of free communities, like one on LinkedIn, there's some local, and they're like, there's like Indie Women in Tech. Salesforce, they have like their Trailblazer program. And I think, Boomy, that's free, right? That's offered to everyone, right? It introduces you to like the language of tech, right? Like we have our own jargon, and it's all the same, right? You understand SaaS, you understand, like we all use Salesforce. We all, we kind of use the same tools and the same jargon, the same language. And so being familiar with that, but just like also finding a mentor that is in tech that can help introduce you to people. Like I tell people, the likelihood of me helping you get an interview is really high, especially if you're doing like the work behind the scenes to proactively understand the tech like landscape, listening to podcasts, listening to like audio. I just think that there's so much free resources and tools out there that people don't necessarily tap into. And I know with me, because tech is becoming like we're more progressive, becoming more open to those transferable skills, that you don't have to be techie. Because I know I didn't come from a tech background, and now people think I'm super techie. No, I can't fix your iPhone. Like I'm not that techie person. But what I did do is I came and I really learned the language and understood really like the tech landscape. And that just came from a transferable skill of just like self-studying, right? And there are some things that I had to do outside of work because I did not come from, like, I'm not Boomy. Boomy's like, he's actually technical, but I am a non-technical person in a tech, in the tech industry, right? So that's what I would say for someone who is trying to tap into a tech space.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what about you, Boomy? I know you shared a few earlier. Do you have any additional ones?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I already mentioned a little bit about some of those certifications you could get. Obviously boot camps. A lot of different organizations offer that. Maybe some sales boot camp also. I think sales is it's literally like a cheat code if you know sales, because a lot of this tech company, they have to sell their product, right? So you can go take that, like, like I mentioned, Trailhead. I don't work at Salesforce anymore, so I don't really care about promoting their product, but it's a free tool. You can go learn it. But and then you have a sales experience. Now you can go sell the software. And once you sell it, now you can switch role to like maybe a success guide, or like you just gotta work your way till you get something different. So that's what I would recommend, is just see what certification you can take. There's Scrum Master. I've seen people during the pandemic where they got laid off or their job got eliminated, so they switched to be a Scrum Master. You can take that. It's a very easy exam, like it's open book, so you can even fail that exam. So yeah, just register for a ticket, and now you can manage the Scrum team, where because it's, I mean, anybody can do it, right? So stuff like that, and then figure out how you can use your current skills, your transferable skills, to help you manage that. So project managers, right? A lot of us can plan the perfect party, but guess what? That's a proper project manager job, right? So figure out, okay, let me go get certified in project management. So boom, there you go. And from there, you can use your skills. And when you get an interview or something like that, you can tell them like, hey, this event, see how you can use keywords like from it. My skills, I was able to use the skills to plan this event, and because I'm a project manager, and now you can be a project manager at any tech company, right? So those were some I would recommend. Just always looking out for opportunities to get certified, or just learn different skills through like boot camps or anything that these tech companies are offering.
Thank you so much, Boomy. I think those are some great advice, and there's some people dropping some other resources in the chat. So make sure you tap into those as well. LinkedIn also offers free courses through their LinkedIn training. And I'll let you know too, if you have a library card in your city, you can get LinkedIn Learning for free. So free resources there. So we are now close to time. I want to allow audience for them to ask any questions. So in 30 seconds or less, Luke and Boomy, can you give one piece of advice you want to leave the audience with?
Go first, Boomy. 30 seconds.
I think what I would say is just embrace the journey, right? It's, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Sometimes you have to play the long game. Sometimes you have to sacrifice not making a lot of money right now so you can make more later, right? Because a lot of time, obviously, everybody want to get paid, but sometimes you have to just sacrifice that for right now. Because once you're settled and you get the experience and all that, now you can make whatever amount you want to make, right? So I think I recommend that. Also, networking, don't ever underestimate that power of networking. It works. Like I've had several examples. I met a lot of people just that I played a key role in my life, in my professional life, and just a lot of things that I do in the community also. Without those networking people, like people meeting those people, it would never work. So I would say don't underestimate that. So it always work. Also just stay curious and just be, always, curious about, oh, AI. Let me learn about it. ChatGPT, let me learn about it. Because guess what? A lot of these tools, they're gonna help your life very easy. They're gonna make your life a lot easier. Embrace it. Whenever a new technology drop, like I spend a lot of time just watching YouTube videos. On I don't like iPhones, but guess what? I spend a lot of time learning more about iPhones. Right? I'm a team Android, but guess what? I know a lot about iPhones because I'm curious about it. I want to know more about this product so I can talk about it, so I can go work for Apple, right? So always be curious about different technology that's out there, how they can make your life easy, and get certification where we talk about it as well. Just see what certification out there. Some of them are free. Just learn it. It's free too. You can learn on your computer. And get a remote job. So so that would be my advice. LinkedIn, we already talked about LinkedIn. I'm not gonna say that anymore. So this will be my advice to you guys tonight. Pass it on to.
Definitely longer than 30
I was
seconds.
just about to say,
Everything I was
I
going
was
to
about
say.
to say 30 seconds. You said you thought I said 30 minutes, huh?
It was about 30.5 seconds.
I'll keep mine
Yeah.
short. I would say
Okay.
like really write down like what you're good at, the skills and what you can apply. And then I want to address Faith, her comment, because I'm currently hiring for the outbound skill sets, and I'm familiar with course careers. So using these free resources and tools that are out there will really help you like land an interview or tap into the tech industry if that's the space that you want to be in.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing that. And then I will conclude in a second, but I want to allow the audience to ask some questions. And if you all didn't just hear that, Lukel says she's hiring. So make sure you make note of that and you connect with her on LinkedIn if you see that there's an opportunity that maybe like she talked about on the marketing and sales team. So any questions for them? I'm looking for the chat. I see thank you from Faith. I'll see y'all answered everything. All right. Well, to conclude today, you heard directly from two amazing Black professionals on how they have been able to navigate their careers. I encourage you all to build relationships with Be Nimble and Mentors of Color to continue to gain access to these amazing workshops like today. This is great information from some really good leaders and even from an HR perspective that you could gain today. Thank you again to Lucal and Boomi for sharing their time and their expertise. And we are really thankful and grateful for you all participating. And again, make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn and stay connected with us. And I will turn it back to Rachel.
All right, everyone. Just want to thank you all for coming. I'm putting in the chat now. If you haven't already, join Mentors of Color to see more great content like this and definitely get a mentor. Join Mentors of Color. And we look forward to seeing you join that. And thank you for a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah.